Okay, boys and girls, we have here a brushless gimbal from MYRCMART, an RCX hobby. Have a little silicone pad mounted in there, help keep vibration down, and it's mounted on my DJI F450. You can mount it on anything. Got some Hobby King motors on there. And I just finally got this thing running the MYRCMART control board, simple brushless gimbal controller, but you can use a Martinez controller if you want. And you have your MPU 6050 sensor board here mounted on top. So a little tricky to set up, but I believe I have it all set up, and this is going to be the maiden flight, and we're going to hope for a good quality image. So I'm going to film me filming. Now this was all calibrated at home on the bench, and that thing should just pop into position once it initializes. Okay. Now if I move the quadcopter, now this is my initial PID tuning, so I don't know if it's going to be 100% good, but I think I got it pretty good. So we'll plug in. We'll turn on the GoPro too. That might be smart. So we'll get some video of the video. And now we're taking video. And we'll see how this comes out later. Alright. Here goes nothing. Seem to be having some yaw issues there. It is windy today, so it's a pretty good test day for this. A lot of shaking going on. Looks like it's doing its thing. The new speed controls and new motors. My quad might be a little more shaky than it needs to be. It's actually not a bad test though. And those are temporary legs on there, just carbon aluminum arrow shafts. Actually, I have to go put my glasses on. My eyes are bleeding. So much better when you fly with your glasses on. I do wish I had, that's why, I had altitude hold on. It's kind of bugging out a little bit. Now altitude hold is off, and not exactly balanced too well with this on there, I would say. This is more or less just a test to see the functionality of the gimbal. This is not a complete FPV setup. I actually have a different quad for that. This is more or less my stunt quad. Acro quad, but you can hang a gimbal from it. You can hang a gimbal from anything if you can lift it. No, I'm not going to do a flip with the gimbal on there. Those of you who know me. I'm not going to do a roll or a loop or a suicide. So Try and keep this thing going around the field. Nice and steady. Those people over there in the corner are nature watchers. They're here to check nature. That's what they told me. Alright, let's switch the altitude. Hold on again. Let's bring this thing up. Famous last words. And that should be enough because my eyes are bleeding. There's some vibration in there as it descends, that little wobble, quad wobble. We'll see how good the gimbal handles that. Should be a picture-in-picture. You can see the gimbal working there. Looks like it's doing its thing. Really, this should be enough for a first test. So I think we'll cut our losses. All right. And this version of the firmware is 2.0 B3, which you'll hear the motors ringing there. I think the newer version addresses that and stops the motors from ringing. And that's it. Your RCX brushless gimbal mount. Make sure you balance this thing. I don't have the lens in line with the axis, so to do that I have to flip the GoPro over or play around with it a little bit, and with some counterweights. I was just trying to keep my weight down. It might be a little bit of what appears to be shakiness because this lens is not in axis, on the same axis as this motor and this motor. That's where your optimal lens placement is supposed to be. But for purposes of this test, I think it'll be fine. Alright, hope you enjoyed it, and this is from MYRCMART.com. Later.